on. Hopefully you can see me at the moment. I'm going to just bring it up on my computer in the meantime. Tell me where you're from, tell me how you're doing, tell me whatever you want to tell me in the comment chat roll. Let me know that you're here. Let's see what we have here today. I'm just bringing it up, making sure that my volume is not on. Yo, what's up? Olin, Alex, Malik. We got Ramzan from Denmark. We got Jamaica. Yo, what's up? It's at Ehab. Protrix, who's in Newcastle in England. All right, Saudi Arabia. Hey, what's up, guys? All right, Alex, I can mention you. What's up? Hi, what's up, Gaming Diego? We got David from Ireland. Hey, man, that's a great name, by the way. We got USA, of course. We got another America, Canada, Ohio. All right, Portugal, New York. All right, hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Sorry that I haven't had a live stream out for a while. As you know, usually we try and do these every single Friday, either at 7, which is what we're doing tonight, or 5 p.m. I love you too, David, and you have a great name, so I love you even more. And what we do is we answer your Instagram questions that you ask me on Instagram. Today I put out a little story on Instagram asking for a few more questions, so I have some of them here. And I have, some questions I'm going to answer from you guys in the comments as well, okay? So at the end, of course, we're going to answer your questions from the comment stream right here after we get through these questions, which are basically questions you guys asked me before today, okay? And so what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start making sure I have that picture up that allows you to ask me questions every single week for these live streams, okay? So that's what you want to do is I'm going to put it up this week for the next live stream, so ask your question on there. It makes it more likely that I'll answer them. So we'll just get everyone in real quick. We got Santos. What's up, Santos? Hey. We got Abels. Santos again. Is it Jalal from Iraq? All right, guys. So let's get right into it. So obviously the title of this is how long does it take to get good at shooting with your weak foot? That's a question that I was asked, so we will cover that. But we have a few other questions to get through. We've got your questions to get through in the comments right there. I'm just realizing the lighting could be better here, but what you gonna do? So 7_Kenny asks, what are the benefits of club soccer and should I play club instead of high school in the fall? Okay, interesting question, Kenny, because when I was in high school, funnily enough, ages ago, not that long ago, but when I was in high school, they actually separated club and high school season. High school would be in the fall, and then club would be in the spring and summer. I think now they do it now it's both in the fall, right? Which is a bit of a problem. So it's really going to be which is going to benefit you the most. I know there's allegiances and you feel obligated to play for your school. I know I did. But if I had to choose between my club team that I played for when I was in high school and my high school, I would choose my club team because they were just, 5, 6, 7 times better than my high school. My high school wasn't great. Now, I liked playing for my high school. I really liked my coach. I really liked my assistant coach. But the fact of the matter is we didn't have the players every single year to really do that much. I wasn't learning that much from high school. And actually, let me kind of make a comparison here. I joined a really good club team when I was 16, and prior to that point, I was playing a little bit in high school. I was starting, but I wasn't playing that well. I made this club team when I was 16 or maybe 15. I might just been about to turn 16. I grew 2, 3, 4 times more as a player within a few months of being on that club team than I ever did in any of my school teams. And that's because the club team had select players who were the best in their high school, who were best in their state. We were ranked state and nationally. So when you get around players like that, you start playing better. When you're in training sessions with better players, you start playing better. So I don't know which that is for you. Your high school team might be better than your club team. So you gotta decide which one are you gonna be able to grow the most in? Which one are you going to be able to have the most impact for? Which one is going to allow you to become a better player? That's really what it comes down to. For me, it would have been the club. For you, it might be your high school. I don't know. And maybe, you might have another reason for wanting to play for a certain team. But if you were going to go for which one I would recommend the one that's actually going to make you better. So if one of them is significantly better than the other, go for that one. That is the amount you will grow from practicing and playing against players at your level, or even better, who are above you right now, is immense. Like, it's unmatched. You know, you won't grow that way from being the big fish in the small pond, right? You could be the best player on your team, but you're not going to really grow as much if that's the case. If you're not playing against great players, or you're playing on a team that gets thumped 7-8-0 every match. And that's like kind of the level my high school was at certain points, so it was a bit harder. Okay, next question, moving right along. And someone just mentioned play where you get game time. That's also very important. You got to make sure you're actually playing. But again, like if you're playing for both and there's a huge gulf in class between the two, the decision is pretty simple, okay? Okay, next question is, oh God, what is this name? I'm sorry, I'm going to really butcher this. It's from Haligborn. I'm so sorry. So sorry. How to deal with being benched / favoritism in coaching. Now, I actually mentioned this, or I actually answered this question in a previous live stream, and the favoritism one for Sahir, my man Sahir. And the advice I gave him is, when it comes to favoritism in coaching, just pump the brakes for a second, take a step back, and really take a look at the situation without attaching so much emotion to it. Because I know when you're not playing, or you're getting benched, or you think there's a player playing over you who you're like, I'm so much better than that guy or that girl or whatever. When you think that, the first thought is, this coach has it out for me, or this coach just likes that player. Now, that's not to say it doesn't happen, because I have been in teams where like the coach's son would play even though he wasn't the best player, or even the best player, like even close to being the best player. That does happen, but the first thing to do is take a step back and ask yourself, is it really favoritism, or could I be doing something more in order to get in the team? Because honestly, that's what you want it to be. If it's favoritism, then it's outside of your control, because you can't change that. You can't like force a coach to not like a player that he likes. But if it's you just thinking it's favoritism because that makes it easier on you, that's actually good, because you can take a step back and go, wait a second, I'm not getting in the team because I'm not working hard enough. Wait a second, maybe if I improve this area of my game, I'd get put in the team. Wait a second, that player's playing ahead of me because, oh wait, he's actually really good. He's put a lot of work into his game. So make sure, first, take a step back. Is it really favoritism? Now, if it is, that really is outside of your control. All you can do is like work your ass off, get as good as you can to the point where the coach cannot ignore you. If you become an indispensable player, I don't care how much a coach has it out for you, you will most likely play. Again, there's going to be rare occasions where even that's not going to work, and if that's the case, find a new team, right? You don't need to play those kind of politics. But first, identify, why is it I'm not in the team? Am I not working hard enough? What could I be doing besides blaming something else? Figure out what it is, and then work on that area and get yourself in the team. So how to deal with being benched? Again, it's the same thing. Is if you're being benched, there's a reason you're being benched. Sometimes players will get benched not because they're not the best player, or not because they're not a good player, but they don't fit into the system of a team. So if that's the case, you also need to see how you can fit into a certain system. Because if a coach is playing the team in a certain way, for example, a very possession-based team, but you're someone who dribbles every single time, you could be one of the best players on the team, but you might not play because you ruin the tactics of the team. So you need to identify, what is it that would make me a valuable player in this situation, in this team? What would make me an impact player for my team? And if you figure that out, get yourself to that point, well, coaches, most coaches are not dumb. They're going to want to play you. If you're a guy who can come into the team and make things happen and help win games and help, get your team out of trouble, you're going to play. It's, again, there might be the odd exception to that, but for the most part, you will. Okay, so that's how I would say, that's how I would answer that question. Okay, next, we got a few more, then we'll get to your questions. And yeah, we're gonna answer the weak foot one, so don't worry. From JanVG.08, what does juggling with different balls like a tennis ball or orange improve, and is it a useful practice? That's actually interesting. Okay, so essentially, Wenger Usually the idea behind it is that by juggling or even practicing with a smaller ball, like a size 3, improves your touch, improves your ball control and stuff like that. Now, with a tennis ball or an orange, I don't recommend you practice with those things. It's just kind of like a show-offy fun thing, right? Like the tennis ball challenge that was going around a couple of years ago where Jordan Henderson was able to do it like 200 times or some crap. It's not going to really benefit you. A tennis ball or an orange is so far away from being anything like a football that's not really beneficial. The reason it's beneficial to use a size 3 ball to practice with, for example, if you're used to a size 5, is because there's less surface area, and if you can control a size 3 ball, you can usually control a size 5. It kind of helps with that. In fact, I have a book by Michael Owen that I used to read when I was a kid, and he said one of the things they used to practice with the younger players in the youth teams at Liverpool was using a smaller size ball. I don't know if it was like a size 1 to dribble and to do ball control and to do certain things, because if you can get good at that, then when you move up to a larger ball, you should have no issues. Okay? So let's see here. The phrasing of all time from Instagram says, "What is your favorite soccer movie and documentary?" Okay, so this is an interesting one because I saw some of you mentioning the movie Goal on my Instagram, going like, "Oh, it's Goal. Goal's the best movie." No. I like Goal, and when I was a kid, I was like, "This is a cool movie," but it's so like, I don't know. It's like it's too magical, right? It's cool. Like it does have some good values, but like by the way, if you guys watched the sequel to Goal, like the sequels to Goal, they're god awful. I don't like them. They're so bad. But my favorite soccer movie is called The Damned United, which is a movie about is it Brian Clough, Nigel Clough? One of them's the son, one of them's the father. But it's about a very famous, I'll just say Mr. Clough. It's about a very famous coach in the 60s, 70s, I forget what era, who basically took Derby County. You probably don't know who Derby County is, you might. They're kind of toiling around in the lower divisions now, but they've actually won the league, and I think they might have won a European Cup. Maybe not, but it's my favorite movie of all time. It's him basically taking Derby to the Premier League. His whole career basically has this thing against Leeds, who are a really big team at that time, and he really doesn't like the manager. I'm trying to think of the manager's name. He's another famous manager. He managed England at one point in time too, but he hated them because they used dirty tactics. They dove. They were always top of the disciplinary charts, There's a point in his career where he got to manage Leeds with those same players, and they basically like rebel against him. It's a really good movie if you haven't seen it. It's called The Damned United. That's my favorite soccer movie of all time. Documentary, I don't know how many soccer documentaries I've watched. I don't know. I watched, Zlatan Ibrahimovic's documentary is really good. There's on Netflix, if you have Netflix, there's a documentary on Zlatan Ibrahimovic during his time in Sweden. Was it at Malmo? I forget which team he played for. I think it might have been Malmo. And it's going over his time at Ajax, and I think his time at Inter. I think it ends at around when he's at Inter. Is that where he went next? But it's basically going over that, and it's going over like his life, his struggles, his rise to his top, his mentality. It's really cool. So check it out if you haven't. It is Malmo. Okay, cool. I was thinking like it's Malmo, right? It's definitely Malmo. So check that out. It's on Netflix. There was like a couple months ago. It's really cool. So and if you want to kind of see the life of a young when he was a young up-and-coming star, and kind of what he went through, and like the expectations and everything that went into being a professional footballer at that age, watch it. It's really good. Okay, here we go. What's the next one? It's _Jacob10. How long does it take to get good at... Here it is. How long does it take to get good at shooting with both feet? It's my biggest weakness, and this summer I really want to work hard to improve it. So essentially the question is how to improve with your weak foot, how to shoot better with your weaker side. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how I did it, because I'm actually incredibly comfortable shooting on my left side, which is my weak side. In fact, there are times when I'll shoot on my weak side and it'll be better than my dominant side. And the only reason is I remember pretty distinctly that when I was like 7 or 8 years old, there was a player on my team who injured his right side and so could only use his left, and he was like practicing with his left and got really good with his weak side, and he could use both feet. And I remember getting really jealous and said to myself, I want to be good with my left, because at that point I had no left foot whatsoever. I could barely toe poke it when I was 7. So I started working on my left deliberately, and that's really how it's going to work. I did this when I was 7, 8, 9, which, made it easier because I was a kid. I was still, learning the sport. But the same process applies to getting good with your weak foot as getting good with your dominant foot. The reason it doesn't seem like that is because when you were getting good with your dominant foot, you weren't really thinking about it. It just kind of happened when you were younger and you were playing for the first time, and you naturally just used that side. But the repetition, the muscle memory you developed is going to be the same when you develop it on your other side. So really the easiest way, I think, or the quickest way, and don't allow that to make it seem like it's going to take a short amount of time to get good with your weak foot. You're not going to be practicing with your weak foot for a month and then be able to hit rockets into the upper corner. It doesn't work like that. It takes a long time. But, that's the way it's done, so you might as well get started and do it. So, essentially, you want to learn proper technique, and if you're good with shooting with your dominant side, you already know what that is. Again, I have videos, other people have videos, and showing you how to strike a ball properly. Then you want to take that technique and you want to go to a wall, and you want to keep doing it over and over and over again with your weak side. Now, this is going to be very frustrating at first because you're not going to be able to do it immediately. But you need to keep your focus, stay really focused on what you're doing, because you're going to need to identify what you're doing wrong and then fix it. And then you're going to take another shot and you're going to identify what happened and then fix it. You're going to keep doing that, and then you're going to hit a good shot. And you're going to go, whoa, what did I do there? And you're going to keep doing that. Then you'll take maybe a few bad ones, you'll fix it, and you just keep doing this, and you keep doing this repetitively, you keep consistently doing this until you get good at it. And then you'll be able to do it more in certain game situations, and that sounds grueling, and that sounds like it's not a fun thing to do, and you can make it fun if you want, you can find a way to make it fun, but let me just tell you, I've scored tons of goals with my weak side. There have been seasons where I've scored almost an equal amount with my weak side because I like actually shooting with my weak side. It's a huge advantage if you can shoot on both feet, especially if you're in and around the box, because defenders will try and put you on the side they think you're weakest on. So if they think I'm weak on my left, show me onto my left, buddy, because I'm fine on my left. I'll curl it into the corner with my left just as I will with my right. And if you can get to that point, you're going to be a weapon when you're trying to score. So you want to get to that point where you can score with your left, with your right. It's just such a huge advantage to have. So I know it's not going to be easy to get there, but most good things aren't that easy. So get to it, get to a wall. If you don't have a wall, find something you can shoot against or on, and keep going over and over again, and keep doing it. Again, if you do this for a week and then give up and then come to one of the live streams or Instagram and ask me, I practiced, why isn't it better? I will tell you, because you didn't stick with it long enough, because you didn't keep at it, okay? So that was a bit more heated than I wanted it to be. Let's get on to the next one. All right, so we have 2 more questions here, then we'll answer your questions right in the comments. All right, so by LJ_Stone_08. Should I look at the ball while dribbling, or should I constantly keep my head up at all times? Okay, so I've answered this question on the live stream before, so I'm going to be quick about it. Look, this question, I'm asked this question all the time, aren't you supposed to keep your head up at all times like this when you dribble, and you're just looking around like this and you never look down? No, it's almost impossible to do that. Watch a video of Messi. He's looking down when he's dribbling. The thing is, he's also looking up all the time. He understands when he can look up and when he can't, when he needs to just put his head down and run with the ball, and when he needs to lift your head up. It's not about having your head up at all times, because that's just making it difficult on yourself. You want to be lifting your head up often, but you can't really be like this. So for me, for example, if I receive the ball, I'm going to watch the ball most of the way as I receive it, and as I take my touch, I'm confident that I'm going to take a good touch. Then I'll look up for the pass. Or if I'm dribbling past someone, I'm not looking up at them as I'm dribbling past them. I'm looking down at what I'm doing. And then I'm looking up at times when I know I can look up. So just watch a video of the best dribblers, and you'll notice a lot of the time they're looking down, and then they look up, and then they're back down forward, and then they're up. They're constantly scanning the field, but they're not doing it in a way that's like this, where they're looking around like this all the time. One thing they're doing is before they get the ball, they are looking around, so they know what's there before they dribble into trouble, right? And then when they do have the ball, they're strategically looking up at certain points. Okay, so don't think that you have to like look up at all times and go like this. I mean, if you try dribbling like that, it's going to be so difficult to do it like that. I mean, you could probably get to a point where you could do that fairly well, but there are very few professional players that I've watched. I can't think of one actually that I've watched who have their head up the whole time while they're dribbling. I don't care if it's Ronaldo, if it was Zidane, Ronaldinho, Neymar, Lionel Messi, George Best. We can go as far back as you want. Maradona, Pele. None of them. So just make sure, don't get too worked up about having your head up at all times. Yes, you want to get it up. Yes, you want to observe what's around you. Yes, you don't want to have tunnel vision, but don't think that means you have to be like this the whole time, okay? So let's get on to this last one, and then we will get to your questions in the comments, okay? So let's see here. Become Pro 70 asks very simply, how do I improve my stamina? Okay, so this is a question that I've been avoiding answering because I'm not an expert when it comes to fitness. I'm still like learning a lot about fitness as I go along, but I do know, I guess, the general things about how to improve your stamina. What happens with your fitness, you have this thing called homeostasis, which is essentially your not breaking point, but what you're used to. So let's say you're this fit, right? This is your stamina right now. The only way you improve this stamina is when you're training to go to here. And when you do this enough times, you create a new homeostasis. So a point to where you can run longer, run faster, your lung capacity is more. I mean, if you've ever seen players that come back from injury, why is it that they only play them for like 60, 70 minutes, or they bring them back up or from the bench, right? It's because they haven't been working on their stamina, homeostasis goes down, right? So how to improve, I mean, like we can go over specific drills and stuff, but you can look that up. Just recognize that if you want to get more fit, it's not about doing the same thing over and over again. It's about progressively doing something. So if you're just jogging, for example, 2 miles every day, and then you're wondering why you're tired when you try and jog for 3 miles, it's because you got really good at, did I say juggling or jogging? I might have said juggling there. You got really good at jogging for 2 miles, right? You got really good at that, but you never pushed yourself beyond that point. So when you tried to push yourself beyond that point, and you were questioning why you weren't fit or you couldn't do it, or why you were struggling for breath when you did it, is because your homeostasis was at 2 miles. So recognize when it comes to fitness and stamina, you always have to be pushing yourself. You have to mix it in with rest and things like that as well. It's the same if you're lifting weights or working out. Once you've developed, if you want to put on muscle or put on size, once you have a good foundation going, you can't just keep lifting 25-pound dumbbells or doing the same bench press or doing the same whatever and expect to get bigger. It doesn't work that way. You know, your body eventually gets used to being able to put up with the resistance the weight is giving it. So you need to increase it. You need to get your body to a point where it's going past its homeostasis. So I hope that makes sense. But again, there's a lot of, I mean, like the biggest thing when it comes to your stamina, your conditioning, your fitness, if you're lifting, you need to find a proven system. So whether that's a program, whether that's maybe your high school coach, like my high school coach and college coach always gave us like summer workout packets, you know, stick to those. And another thing to do is also track your progress. So have a journal or something where you're recording your progress when it comes to stamina, because if you're going out or whatever it is, fitness, stamina, strength, you know, speed, because if you're just going out randomly and you're just kind of winging it, you're not really going to see the results that you want. But if you track it, if you go, this week my goal is this, I'm going to be doing this, and then the next week you increase it a little, maybe you keep it the same the next week, then you increase it some more, that's how you start getting it. So, and most programs that you buy will kind of walk you through that. But if you really want to work on your, so Become Pro, if you're in there, really look for a system a workout plan specifically for soccer players. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, who's Become Elite has programs. Progressive Soccer has programs. Look online for how to improve your stamina in soccer program if you want something else. There are programs out there. Follow that system, and then if you put in the work and follow what it says, you'll improve your stamina. Okay, so we're done with this. I didn't go where I wanted to go. Let's go to your questions in here. All right, so the easiest way to get my attention is to at SimplySoccer, at SimplySoccer, and that will allow me to see your question and then answer it. So how can I get consistent with my free kicks and medium shot distance to be able to hit the target and get consistent with my shots? Okay, first and foremost is with free kicks, don't focus too much on free kicks. I mean, they're fun, and sometimes I'll practice mine. But just realize in a game, considering you are the free kick taker, because I don't even know if you are. If you are the free kick taker, how many opportunities do you really get to take a free kick in a game? I would focus more on your shooting. So you said like mid-range shots. Again, that's going to, again, come down to technique. The better your technique is, the better you're going to be. And that's why I always recommend these shooting against the wall. Move further back if you have to, and practice making good contact on the ball. Once you've gotten the technique down, focus on aiming for certain chunks of areas. So let's say you've gotten pretty good at shooting. Now start aiming towards this side of the goal or that side. Once you get good at that, narrow the target a little bit. And just keep doing that. You know, I know that sounds like overly simple, but you know, it's not really rocket science when it comes to these kind of things. Deliberately practicing like something like that over and over again and increasing the challenge over time is what's going to help you improve at those areas. And it looks like, oh no, I thought I froze. Okay. Oops, that question just, whoops, hold on. The question just left me. Okay, so MessyTube asks, how can I beat a defender head on? Well, sorry, I was reading something else. How to beat a defender head on. So, I mean, if you're running directly at a defender, if that's what you're saying, my favorite way, honestly, is to kind of off-balance them and then beat them with speed. But there's an array of skill moves you can learn to do this. Like, one of my favorites is the step over. I'll kind of run kind of at a mild pace towards them if I have them isolated, do the step over, and then burst. Sometimes I'll cut inside. You know, I mean, there's no one way to do it. It's going to vary per situation. I found a lot of success, again, from doing one of those things. Again, sometimes just running directly at the defender and just cutting inside quickly is enough to beat them. It's always going to vary on the situation. But one thing I will tell you that you've got the right idea is take them head on. When you have a defender isolated, don't delay. Take them head on. Unless you're waiting for like teammates to join you in the attack or something and your strategy in that moment is to hold the ball up. Being direct is a great thing to do when you have a defender isolated or you're driving towards the box or something of that nature. I mean, defenders will probably attest to this. They don't like it when you run at them. That's not, like, if you stand still, they've got you right where they want you. You stand still and you're kind of thinking about what you're going to do, defender's fine with that most of the time. But if you're running directly at them and you're looking dangerous, I mean, I know from my perspective, I don't want that. I don't want some fast player or skillful player running at me. You kidding me? I don't want that. So do that if you're an attacker. Okay. So how do I start? Jack Henderson, how do I start practicing individually? Just start. I don't know. Just start, man. And there's no real right way to do it. You know, just start. Like if you're just practicing in team training right now, just start scheduling time for yourself every day that you're going to train on certain areas. Like the best way for me is to identify what your strengths and weaknesses are, so you can improve upon your strengths, and you know, shore up your weaknesses. One of the things that I went over recently in a video is you don't always want to spend too much time on your weaknesses. You do want to shore them up. Like you don't want to be god awful at things, right? And if your weakness is something like ball control, then you know, then that's a whole different discussion because you need that. But one thing is, like if you're a striker, for example, you're not going to be focusing on defending, right? That would be a waste of your time, because instead of doing that, you could focus on your finishing, your movement off the ball, on your combination play, on how well you can strike a ball, on hitting the ball out of the air. So I'm getting away from your question, which was training individually. For that, just start, man. If you haven't done it before, start small with like 10, 20, 30 minutes a day and work your way up. Don't try and do like, someone asked me today on Instagram, it's like, if I practice 6 hours every single day, will I get good? And yeah, probably. But the thing is, you can't start just training 6 hours every day out of nowhere. Start small, work your way up. It's not doing everything at once that's going to get you results. It's doing these little things each and every day that add up to that big picture goal, or you getting better, or whatever it is. Okay, so let's see how much time we have. It's okay, so let's do a few more questions. Nick, oh, is that effective soccer? Okay, or effective training. I've been a development player for a while now, and I think I'm ready for the leap to an academy. How can I get trials? I honestly don't know how academies work here. I'm assuming you mean the USA. Someone told me you have to pay. Someone told me it's scouting. You can directly contact them, coaches, to come see you play. There are many different ways, but I have to admit, I don't actually know. Just keep playing as well as you can in your matches. Keep working on improving yourself as much, so when the time comes that a scout is there, or someone who's affiliated with a team is there, that you can impress them enough to get a trial. Okay, so all right, here's a good one. All right, we're gonna answer 2 more questions. Here's a good one. Cleo99 asks, what are the best ways to stay motivated, fit, and progress over the summer? So motivation's a weird one, right? Because there are times when you're motivated, you're so motivated, right? You're like, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to conquer the world, I'm ready, maybe not conquer the world, but I'm ready, I'm ready to get it. I'm ready to become a great player. I want to do everything right now. But then there are days where you're just like, nah, I don't feel like it, right? Motivation's a weird thing. Now, you do not want to rely on motivation alone to push you through what you need. What the problem is, when you're motivated, you get into this trap where you think, oh, you know what, I'll always feel like this, and therefore I'll always be able to do my workouts. I'll always be able to do my eating schedule. I'll always be able to get through my practice because I feel it right now. But as many of you know, when you feel low energy, when you don't have when your willpower reserves are being drained, it's really hard to motivate yourself. So one thing to do is, first and foremost, find ways to energize yourself that work for you. But another thing is, know when you have energy and schedule around that. Like for me, I have a lot of energy in the morning to like early afternoon, and it starts to kind of die off towards later, right? Sometimes if I have like a game at night, I'll maybe nap or something so that I'll have more energy later. You have to be strategic with your willpower. Because when you have the most energy, that's when you're going to be feeling the most motivated, you're going to be feeling like tackling the day the most in those moments. But we all know later in the day, you're not going to have that same energy, that same drive, that same motivation. Now, you can push through, but the thing is, when you try and push through something versus doing something effortlessly from this place of kind of joy and energy and motivation, one is going to give you more results than the other. So plan your training around those times when you know you have the most willpower and motivation. Yes, find ways to motivate you in times when you're not feeling motivated, but there are going to be times where that's not going to be enough. So be strategic about it. First and foremost, make sure you're planning things around when you have the most energy. And for most people, it's the same point in the day. Okay, so for me, most of my training and workouts happen earlier in the day because I know if I wait till like 7 or 8 p.m. that I'm going to not be as up for it. I'll probably still do it, but I'm not going to be, into my reps as much. I'm not going to be pushing as hard as I probably would have earlier. So that's one way. Marco, no, we've gone over this. You're not allowed, and you know it. You may not take a shower at my house. That's going to be confusing for anyone that's not Marco Labrachosa in the comments right there. And you should all tell them that. Okay, what tactics? Okay, so here we go. We're going to do one more question. So everyone ask their questions now, and we'll go from there. Okay. I'll answer this real quick. When will the community video be up? Next week or two, I think. I have a lot of videos planned, but I want to get it up in the next week or two. Oh, okay. I have a trial for AFC Bournemouth soon. I was wondering if I could have some advice. Okay. Nate, you need to be more specific than that because I can't. There are a few videos you can watch on the channel, like how to become a standout player, how to do well at tryouts and things like that. But when you guys ask me, like generally, how can I get better? How can I improve? It's so broad, guys, that I can't really answer that question. Like my answer will be the more specific your question, the more specific my answer will be. The more broad your question is, the more broad my answer is going to be. So Nate, for like a question, or anyone who's asking me a question like that, if you ask me how do I get better, my answer could be as broad as train hard, right? Ask me very specifically what you want, right? Okay, so I'm a striker and my strength isn't too good. Nate, look at the video on my channel that goes over. It's like how to use your body to protect the ball. You do want to work on your strength and getting your strength up, but you can still protect the ball and use your body effectively, even if you're not the most muscular. Okay, so one more question. Same for you, was it Pogba Boom? Go take a look at that video, how to use your body to protect the ball. Okay, here's a good question from Sneezy with a Borussia Dortmund logo, which I like. So how many hours should I practice per day? And this is where I'm going to end. Oh, for God's sake, get off that. Okay, so so how many hours should I practice each day, or should you practice each day? So first and foremost, again, this is one that's going to be different per person. Right? If you've been practicing every day for an hour, for example, for a long time, you can move up from there. But if you've never practiced individually before, I wouldn't recommend you practice for hours on end. You see, your body, again, going over homeostasis, your body gets used to a certain level of training, right? And the more you do it, the more used to that level it gets. So if you haven't been training that much, you can't go from not training to hours of training. So it's going to vary per person. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend, maybe 30-minute sessions, maybe a little longer. But what I put in those sessions would be different than say I was helping a more further along player who's been playing their whole life. If you've been practicing every day for 2 hours, then you could probably, you can fluctuate from there. If I was going to give you a sweet spot, I would say when you practice, like when I do a training session or like if I go to the gym and do a workout, it's usually anywhere between an hour or two per training unless I'm doing like a quick one. So let's say I'm going to do lifting. It'll be like an hour or so, then I'll do stretching or something, then I'll have some ball work I do later. So it'll vary. But it's always usually around that point. So just recognize that depending on where you are now, it's going to be different. So if you're a beginner player, you can't do 6 hours a day. And listen to your body. Like if you think you can add more into your day, like you're doing 2 hours right now, and you think, you know what, maybe I can do 2 a days. I can do 1 in the early afternoon and 1 at night. If you're doing that and your body's, it can put up with it, then, that's fine. But you just got to listen to your body. If you're doing that and your body's just worn out, you can't, you're just sore all the time, you need to rest and you're doing too much, okay? Remember, just keep in mind that rest is as important sometimes, maybe as important as the actual training, because if you don't rest properly, you can't bring your A game to the next training, to the next practice, or anything like that. Okay. What time is it? It is 7:37. We've been at this for almost 40 minutes. So I think we're going to end it there, guys. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Marco, once again, you may not use my shower. Thank you guys so much. Keep supporting Borussia Dortmund. I love them because obviously Klopp is now a Liverpool manager. Guys, thank you again for tuning in. We will have a podcast out tomorrow. And remember, if you want one of your questions answered, it's easier to ask me on Instagram when I put the post up. I'll put a post up that tells you the time and date of the next live stream, and it will also ask for your questions. If you ask a question on there, there's probably like a 50% or higher chance I answer it, okay? So, and again, try and be as specific as you can with your questions because it makes it easier for me to give you better answers. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm getting really tired. I'm probably going to take a nap or eat something. I don't know. I have a game tomorrow in the morning. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. I'm going to get up and turn this off now. And you guys can awkwardly look at my chair as I do so. See you guys later.